Hey guys, so disclaimer, I've tried to make this video 13,404 times. My camera that I thought I had fixed, I didn't fix it. It's decided it's going to keep rebooting on me. So I'm watching it very closely now. This is going to be the 13,405th time. And this is how they say that, right? Like, if at first you don't succeed, keep trying until 13,405 or 13,405th time is a charm. They say that, right? I certainly hope so. So, my package finally arrived today. This is supposed to have arrived on Monday. It's Friday now. USPS. That can be their new motto. Sometimes we're only 5 days late. How catchy that is, but it's accurate, in this case at least. So, what I got was a BreakRAK. And I did the whole unboxing and all the and assembly and all this and that, but then my camera decided to reboot and lose all my footage. So now I'm just gonna just wing it, I guess. At one point, the brake, like a 9 ball, that's what I'm talking about here is 9 ball brake, as hard as possible and as accurate as possible. Get a good solid hit on that front ball, that 1 ball. That was kind of the whole like goal in breaking 9 ball, which is hard and solid. There were a lot of old advertisements from people selling brake cues and stuff back then. They had all these people in all these really like super flamboyant brake positions, which I didn't ever think looked particularly manly. But oh well. Nowadays things have changed a little bit, and it's not just about hitting them as hard as you can and as solidly as you can. A lot of the whiny crybaby rules have come into play, and so your limit up. You have to break from the break box. You have to move 3 balls back uh, beyond the head string or beyond the side pockets. I forget the rule. It's not so much now. It's not as much now about just hitting them hard, hitting them solid, doing this whatever the hell they were doing there, and looking like you were just really powering. Mike Siegel used to bend the shit out of his cue on his follow through on a brake shot. It made me cringe every time I ever saw it because I'm like, that thing's going to snap. Anyway, nowadays, people are breaking 9 ball, not just hit them hard and hit them solid. They're breaking to make that wing ball. In some cases, they're breaking to make the one in the side. In some cases, they're breaking to bank the one up in this area so they have an easier shot at it. And you start talking about 10 ball, they're talking about, a lot of times they're just talking about bringing the head ball back here, close to one of these corner pockets. It's not just about power anymore. Now, when this BreakRAK was developed and introduced, I thought, well, man, this is the greatest thing ever. What a great idea. And then I saw how expensive it is, and I thought, maybe it's not so great. But still, it was developed to help people practice breaking hard and solid, not developed to help people practice making the wing ball or things like that, because there's no wing ball in this deal. But it's still useful and all that. The theory is that if I set this up and I break, it's going to act like a normal rack of 9 balls would act. In other words, the cue ball bounces back. It's going to bounce back the same amount as it would if there was a rack of 9 balls. That type of thing. So you can not only just practice your speed and accuracy, you can kind of get a feel for how much that cue ball is going to come back, if that's what you want to happen. I don't know if that's going to be the case with this of mine, because I don't know if I'm doing it right. The manual that came with it, I'm sure is awesome. But the pictures were horrible. I spent about an hour talking to Charlie Bond, who's like the BreakRAK guy. Some of the reasons for like how expensive this thing is. The reason that this is so expensive is because it is built and designed to be slammed into dozens or maybe hundreds of times a day for X amount of years. It's got to be solid material. I would hate to spend money on something and then just because of normal use, it breaks after 6 months. I don't know if this thing is going to last me the rest of my life, but it's going to last me a hell of a lot longer than 6 months. I can tell you that. I did the whole unboxing, and I kind of figured out the how to put it together. I think although the pictures, like I said, were horrible, but then my camera decided, no, Dave, we're not going to do that. See, I'm trying it again. When you get this thing, this is what shows up. You get these two identical, probably some kind of carbon fiber cylinders, and they have these lock nuts on them. So if I loosen this, let's loosen the other one because I'm too weak to loosen that one. My fingers are too weak right now. Then this is slides. This gray tube does not extend or anything, but this piece will slide. And when you get it where you want it, you tighten it down. And I'll explain all that. At least I'll attempt to. So when you're going to set this up, oh, I'm down here at this end of the table because this is the foot spot on my table. That's why I'm all the way down here. Hi, if y'all can still see me. You get these tubes and just slide them over the gray things. They don't lock in place or anything. I just slide them over it and just like that. Fairly basic stuff. One of the things I really struggled with is kind of the next step in this assembly is that, well, this now just goes in there. It goes in until it stops. It doesn't click and lock into place or anything. You just put it in there. You do the same thing with the other side. There's no left or right or anything like that. You just put it in there. And one of the things I really struggled with was I was afraid I was going to break the thing, trying to bend it and get it into place. So I guess I just decided, well, hell, if I bend it, then I bend it, and maybe it would be a funny video. But I didn't. I did not break it. What I ended up doing is I put this. It's about 2.5 diamonds up, and just against the rail, and I'm going to pull with my right hand, kind of this way, to bend it. While I'm doing that, I'm going to take my left hand and bend up. And that's just what I'm doing. This thing is surprisingly strong, okay? Or maybe I'm surprisingly weak, or maybe both. But you get it in place under the cushions. On this gray tube, there is a black line. That black line is supposed to be even with this diamond. So once I get that set up, I move this entire gray tube down until they're even. Now, right now, this gray tube is not up against this cushion, but I'll get it there. I'm just going to make sure it's aligned right, left to right. And it is. Now I'm just going to take this right side and move it down. Now, maybe an inch. Move this left side down. That same amount. Get this set up. Now my black line is center, or my black mark on this thing is center. And everything is kind of tight. Everything is tight. This part was covered pretty well in the instruction manual. The part that was not was this stuff. This is heavier than it looks. Um, I don't think it's as heavy as 9 balls. If I had those in my hand, I don't think it's quite as heavy as that, but it is heavier than it looks. And this is why this BreakRAK is more expensive than a lot of people might think when they first look at it. Got bungee cords. It's got black. Let me just show you guys this. It's got these black hooks, and then on the hooks, there's also like a triangle type of thing. So once the bungee cord is pulled up into that, then the bungee cord is locked into place. Could y'all even see that, or was I down here? I hate it when I do that. Once the bungee cord is pulled up into this triangular section, the bungee cord is kind of locked into place. You have to pull it kind of tight. Well, that's all there is to that. So what the instruction manual says is when I'm setting this up, I want to set it up not on the spot like this. I'm going to set it up a little bit, in this case, to this side of the spot. And this is all just kind of a guess, but the manual says just do it like that. A half ball towards me. I didn't like that too much, so I'm just going to go just a little bit further. So you can kind of see that. The 1 ball here and the 7 are the same distance from this rail. The BreakRAK is just a little bit closer to me. It's a little bit closer than half a ball. So we do that. Then I've got my bungee cord. I've got my black plastic hook. And all I have to do with this is hook this over the gray bow part. Not worrying about the nuts at all at this point. Those locking nuts I talked about, not worrying about those at all. That's one of the things that the book didn't really clarify. So that's all I'm doing, is I'm just setting that up. And hooking that over this bow part. Once I do that, try to get this bungee cord. It's not pulled tight. If I pull it tight, then I'm going to move this whole thing this way. So I'm not pulling it tight. I'm just kind of getting rid of the slack, trying to make sure that this bungee cord is still parallel to this rail. And then at that point, I move these locking nuts up until they touch the hook. And then I try to tighten these locking nuts down. This would probably come in handy if I had a wrench. The crescent wrench or something would probably be just fine. Maybe a couple wrenches would be just fine. You tighten these guys down, and now this white thing won't move anymore, and the hook is like up against it. So that's cool. And then I come over here. I've got the same setup over here. Let me take this out of its V groove. So this slides. Now just pulling on the bungee cord, I pull. See what just happened? I forgot a step. Did I mention that the instructions weren't super clear? And did I mention that? Well, I might have had a beard on it. Let's do that. Let's pull this again. So just so there's no slack, I'm not putting any real tension on it. And then I'm going to pull this up into this V groove to lock this bungee cord in place. That's the step that I forgot. Now I come over here and I pull on the bungee cord until this 1 ball, the fake 1 ball, whatever, is on my foot spot. See what I'm doing there? I'm just pulling on this until that's where it is. It's on that foot spot. Once that happens, I'm going to take my plastic hook and I'm going to hook it over here again, just on the gray tube. Should have done that first. Pull until my yellow ball is on that foot spot. Then bend this up to lock that bungee cord in place. That's what I'm doing to set this up. I think it's close enough for government work right now. It kind of looks like I could maybe be a little bit that way. Trying to make sure that the bungee cords, which are stretched tight, so they're straight, but it's parallel to this rail. I want it to be the same distance. One of the things about this BreakRAK is it's not only, as I said, not only supposed to help with practicing a good, solid, and fast hit. It's supposed to act the same way that a rack of 9 balls would. And so what we do, in theory, is I set this up, I smack this with the cue ball, see how the cue ball reacts, see how accurate it was and all that. And then when I try it again, I just try it again. I don't have to re-rack balls. So I can take this shot right here and do that. All this stuff here bounces right back to where it was. And then I can just take the cue ball, put it back someplace else or the same place, whatever I want to do. I am not sure that this is acting like it would act if there were 9 balls down there instead of this contraption. I'm not sure. I don't break hard enough. I don't practice breaking hard enough. And I should. This has been my fault. I do play 9 ball banks, and you are supposed to be able to break hard and break hard well. But I don't. I throw balls out and I bank them. I don't go through all the trouble of racking a bunch of balls. Probably should. This should help to eliminate that need. But I don't know if it's acting like a regular rack of 9 balls would do. I haven't messed with it enough. The sound is absolutely 1,000,000% different. But is the cue ball, like if I want the cue ball to bounce back to the middle of the table, I don't know if that's happening in the same way. Because the sound is so different, I think that's messing me up. Clearly, I need practice because that wasn't supposed to happen. I mean, what's supposed to happen is that. And so you practice it. That's the point of this thing, is to be able to practice this kind of thing. If all I get out of this is the ability to practice shooting hard and hitting the ball solid, you know, I'm not going to say it's not worth it, but I could do that with a phone book. I could put a phone book here, draw a line on it, and just slam that phone book. One of the big selling points of this is that it's supposed to make the cue ball react like it just hit a rack of 9 balls. And I don't know if it's doing that. I'm going to have to mess with this, then actually rack some balls and mess with it that way. Kind of see if there's a difference. When I was messing with this earlier this evening, here's what I was trying to do. What I was trying to do was scratching the side. Trying to break from over here and mishit it and scratching the side. Because I do that in my real world game. I'll scratch in that side a lot. It seemed to me that with this thing, With this thing, the cue ball wasn't coming back the same way. But again, I need to do it again. I'm not saying that this product is junk or anything all like that. I'm just saying I am not convinced that for me it's exactly the same as a rack of 9 balls down here would be. It seems to me like the cue ball is coming off more slowly, now like softer. I don't know if that's a very good descriptive term. It doesn't seem like the cue ball is reacting the same way. Now I may have done something wrong as far as the tension on this goes. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. But hey, I like pull gadgets. And this is a pull gadget. This is one I've wanted for a long time, even though, as I said, it's not as relevant now as it used to be, because nowadays people are at least as concerned about putting in the wing ball or putting in the one in the side or putting the head ball up near a corner pocket. They're at least as concerned about things like that as they used to be. Just hit them hard and solid and do this and be in your manly pose thing. Nowadays, it's not about shooting them softer. It's about you're aiming the brake. People are aiming the brake. They're aiming the brake, they're putting spin on the brake for a reason. This doesn't really help with things like that, but it was never designed to help with things like that. It was designed to help with the things that were most important back then. Hit it hard, hit it solid. Practice as much as you want. You don't have to keep racking balls. And that's great. And that's why I bought the thing. So, a couple of things I'm probably going to do as I continue to mess with this. Just like I put a brake pad up there. When I practice my brake, I put a brake pad there, so I don't wear a hole in my cloth. I'm probably going to do the same thing down here. This doesn't have any sharp edges or anything, but it is kind of heavy. So I think what I will probably end up doing is putting a piece of paper under it. Just so as it gets hit and it's sliding around or rebounding around, it's rubbing against that paper and maybe saving a little bit of wear and tear on my cloth. Maybe. I'm just doing this right now to see if it keeps going back to the same place every time. It is. I mean, it's going back to the same place every time, I think. That time it seemed like it came back a little bit further. Does that mean that this tension needs to be more? I don't know the answer to that question. Right now, the tension is a little bit more than the manual says. Maybe the tension needs to be less, although that doesn't really make sense to me right now. This is still, if nothing else, going to really help me to be able to practice shooting hard and being accurate, like a break shot speed hard and being accurate about my hit on that front ball. If that's all it can do, is it worth it? I don't know the answer to that question. If I find out that the cue ball bouncing off of this really is behaving like it would have done if it went into a rack of 9 balls, if I find out that that's the same, then I think it's absolutely worth it, even though it is an expensive thing. It is an expensive thing, but as I said, this thing might last me the rest of my life. It is built out of some quality stuff. It's not something that's going to, break or crack or whatever, just because the cue ball is slamming into it at 20 miles an hour or whatever, 100 times a day, whatever. I bet I could do this 100 times a day for 20 years, and it wouldn't affect this. Now, these bungee cords may need to be replaced. This rubberish tubing may need to be replaced. This is some kind of fiberglass material. These are going to be the cheaper thing. This here is the part that was expensive. I forget what Charlie told me it was actually built out of, but it's not built out of diamonds, but none of others are built out of lead. It's something fairly expensive to have it be able to withstand that hammering, 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 hammering. Now I understand now. At first I thought, well, he just jacked up the price. No, he didn't just jack up the price. He has to sell things for what he puts into them, plus a little bit of profit. Makes perfect sense. I'm going to stop this video. I have not seen my camera reboot, which is amazing. So maybe I did actually get lucky. Thanks, guys.